It's been a tough year for the 73-year-old president. Critics say he made too many promises that he seems to be finding hard to keep. There are those he has kept, like fighting corruption, which has won him favor among the people. In the last year, Buhari has axed almost 50 top civil servants and 40 ambassadors. And the fight against Boko Haram, albeit slow, has seen the Nigerian military gain considerable ground against the militant group. Nigeria is facing its worst economic crisis in years, blamed on the downturn in oil, which has lost around two-thirds of its value since mid-2014, which has triggered a slide in its naira currency. An OPEC member state, Nigeria depends on oil sales for about 90% of its foreign reserves. Critics say the economic crisis has also been worsened by lack of policy and strategy.
What do I do different? What I can accelerate to make happen? A lot of things like that did not happen. So I think the government needs to come back and think through all of these things. But most of them, I would say three things. Let's align our policies to our resource allocation. There'll be a clear policy. Let's start early. And third is the capacity building for the ministry agencies, for the agencies.
With a slump in global oil prices, the country has also been exploring ways to diversify away from oil to sectors like agriculture to boost earnings.
We have seen success in our backward integration policies in the cement industry. And Sugar is currently trying to replicate that success. In the automotive, as well as cotton, textile and garment industries, we are continuing discussions with players and stakeholders to see how we can better implement an industrial policy that creates jobs, profits, and prosperity.
Buhari's supporters argue that it's still too early to call judgment on his tenure, especially considering the magnitude of challenges facing Africa's largest economy and the kind of reforms needed to turn its fortunes around. Kathryn Ogunde, CCTV.
Let's get more insights and analysis on this story from CCTV's Deji Batmas, who's now live in Lagos. Deji, Monday will mark 1 year since President Buhari was elected to power, and that's amidst high expectations from the public. Do Nigerians feel that their great expectations have been met?
Well, Penina, to be candid, Nigerians are divided over the achievements of President Muhammadu Buhari. And if you spoke to the opposition, it will tell you that Buhari hasn't achieved anything. If you spoke to those who are in support of Buhari, they will tell you he has achieved so much. But the fact is that President Muhammadu Buhari did not actually hit the ground running after his election. It took him 4 months, for instance, to appoint ministers. And of course, we understand part of the problem was that the transition was not a smooth one, because it was the very first time that a ruling party would be handing over to an opposition party. So the transition was not smooth. The transition committee that was set up to work with the outgone government did not have a smooth working relationship. So, you know, 4 months to get to appoint ministers, and then it took him, it wasn't until last month that he actually presented the budget to Parliament. And so the government has come out to say, look, there's still time, and that people should just wait until after the budget it presented to the National Assembly has been passed, and when that is when it will begin work. So that people should give it more time now before passing judgment, Penina.
What would you say are Buhari's key accomplishments during his first year?
Well, I think the major accomplishment would be his fight against corruption. As you know, during his campaign, he promised that he was going to wage a war on corruption, and he's actually done that. As we speak today, quite a number of senior officials who served under the previous government are facing trial over corruption. Of course, you're aware of the $2.1 billion arms scandal. The case is still going on. Quite a number of senior PDP officials are facing trial, and the government has recovered a huge amount of money. And, you know, Buhari's fight against corruption is very popular in the country, and he said he's going to make sure he sees the fight to a logical conclusion. Another achievement, you could say, is the fight against Boko Haram. The government has succeeded in reining in Boko Haram. It has succeeded in pushing Boko Haram back, and as we speak today, Boko Haram is not in control of any territory as we used to have it in the past. So the government can beat its chest and say it has done well in that regard now in terms of security. one area that the government, that people are still looking up to this government to deliver is in the area of the economy. Not much, I would say we haven't seen much achievement. The Naira, as you know, is not doing well. And that's the area people want to see Buhari perform. But then the government has said people should just wait for its budget, its expansionary budget to be passed. That's a $30 billion budget. People should just wait for that budget now to sail through the National Assembly, and then the government would start working. So probably in the next 6 months, we'll be able to sit down here and say whether Buhari has done well in terms of the economy or not. Penina?
Indeed, Deji. Thanks very much for joining us. Deji Batmas there in Lagos. Thanks, Deji, once again.